Scream is coming out soon. So they're going to go into production soon on Screen 7, as they're frantically now working with the writer's strike over to get the script finalized and finished. But they're going to have to do it without at least one of their stars. And now we find out without two of the stars. As news came out, you can see this here in the Hollywood Reporter the other day, that Melissa Barrera, the new final girl in the Scream series, was fired by, I think, Spyglass, who makes the Scream movies, after social media posts that that Spyglass categorized as anti-Semitic and crossed into hate speech and whatever, and all that kind of stuff. So she's gone. By the way, Jenna Ortega is also now out of it, but as the Hollywood Reporter stated, the Hollywood Reporter wrote that it was their understanding that her representatives told Spyglass Entertainment that she was not going to be able to do Scream 7 during the writer's strike. So the Hollywood Reporter is saying that they had already told them that, and Deadline is also writing this. Deadline is right that the departure of Jenna Ortega has nothing to do with the fallout from Melissa Barrera's, because there's a whole bunch of people going around right now saying that Jenna Ortega quit because they fired Barrera. That is not true. I mean, we talked about the fact that there was word going around months ago that Jenna Ortega might not be able to do Scream 7. Hollywood Reporter saying that her reps had already told Spyglass during the actor strike that she wasn't going to be able to do it. And now Deadline is also right. It has nothing to do with the fallout from Melissa Barrera's firing yesterday by Spyglass Media over the actress' social media posting. Basically, they go on to say it had more to do with the fact that because of the massive scheduling upheaval and all that kind of stuff that's caused by the writer and the actor strike, she's got Wednesday season 2 she's got to do. She's got to do final pickups for Beetlejuice. She just can't do the film anymore, which in her contract, in all actors' contracts, there are clauses about if schedules move and everything and that create scheduling conflicts, the actor can then back out. What is not in there is an actor can't back out of a contract because another actor got removed from a movie. That's not something contractually can do. So both the Hollywood Reporter, Deadline put that to rest. So if you hear anybody saying, oh, she quit because they fired her, it's nonsense. This was already well known before. Now, we are not here to talk about the Israel-Hamas conflict. That's not what we do on this channel. There are many, many, many other YouTube channels where you can go, and news networks and everything if you want to go those discussions. What we are concerned about here is the movie business. And here we have a situation now where I'm not going to say a blockbuster film because I don't even think the last Scream movie even made, Ray, can you look it up? But I don't think Scream 6 even made $200 million at the box office.
Let's check it out.
I mean, it was successful because they made it for pocket change. But I mean, it's not like it's a big blockbuster thing. That being said, as Ray looks up that info.
Oh, we're talking about Scream 6, right?
169 million worldwide.
169 million?
Yeah.
Okay, so it didn't even come close to $200 million. So it's not like it's some huge blockbuster franchise. But there are people who are big Scream fans that were looking forward to the next installment of 7. And now, the girl who was the lead of the last 2 is not going to be there. First thing I should mention is this. The lead actress of the entire franchise, Neve Campbell, was not in the last movie at all, and the movie did fine. So I just want to throw that out there first. The definitive lead of the entire franchise was not in the last movie, and the movie did okay. So I just want to say this. But Spyglass made the decision to remove Melissa Barrera from their stuff. And the big question that's been going out there is, should they have done it? And that's actually the topic of today's Mint Mobile hotline question of the day. Listen, guys, if you've got a question for us and you'd like to hear your voice on our show, go ahead and send it in at 951-268-4259. The basic question is, did the studio do the right thing or not? Check it out.
Hey, John, this is Alan. I just saw on Deadline that they're reporting that Melissa Barrera has been dropped from Scream 7 due to some of her Instagram stories that have been perceived as anti-Semitic, essentially. I just want to get your thoughts on this, and do you think the studio overreacted, or this was even remotely the right decision? Thanks, love to hear your thoughts.
All right, thanks a lot for that, Alan. All right, let me say this. There's going to be some people out there, before I get to do I think the studio should have let her go. There are going to be, and there already are people out there who saying this is an issue of free speech. It's not. This is not an issue of free speech. Melissa Barrera did not get thrown in jail. She is not facing criminal charges. But as I often say in this show, and nobody likes to acknowledge, free speech and that freedom is a two-way street, right? I have the freedom to say, I think your mother's a whore. I can say that.
How dare you?
But I can say that's my opinion. In my opinion, I think but I'm not talking to anybody here. I can say, I think your mom is a whore. I can say that. I have the freedom to say that. That's freedom of speech. But you then have the freedom to not invite me over for dinner. I have the freedom to say that I think your mom's a whore, but you also have the freedom to say, well, if you're going to say stuff like that, I am not inviting you to my home for dinner. And you're totally good to say that. Freedom goes both ways. All right? Freedom of speech is about protecting us from government persecution for what we say, not about everybody else just has to suck it up that we said what we said and do nothing about it. That's not what freedom of speech is.
It's not censorship either. Someone said censorship.
And it's not censorship.
Her poster's still there.
She's totally free to say whatever she wants to say. But, just like I'm free to say, I think your mother's a whore, and you have the freedom to say, well, I don't want to associate with you anymore. You have the right to do that. Just like when Brie Larson comes out and says she thinks there's not enough representation of enough diversity in film critics, guess what? She's allowed to say that. And other people are allowed to say, whether I agree with them or not, they're allowed to say, well, then you know what? Because you said that, I'm not going to go see your movies. You have the freedom to do that. If you're somebody who says, I'm not going to go see Brie Larson's movies because she said something I don't like, are you infringing on her free speech?
Okay, you're censoring her, right?
Are you censoring Brie Larson by not going to her movies because she said something you didn't like? No, of course not. She's free to say that. You're free to act accordingly. And if you don't want to go to see her movies as a result, that's fine. Now, how this all connects, I think, in a way, to this situation is, and you notice we're not talking about whether or not we agree with her statements. That's irrelevant.
Someone's saying she didn't deserve it. What are you saying? No, we're not saying she deserved it or didn't deserve it.
No.
We're just talking about what's happening.
Yeah, we're simply saying this. And my point is this. You're in a business, all right? You're in a business. And when you're in business with other people, fair or unfair, what you do reflects on the people you're in business with. I'm not saying that's fair. I'm not saying it's unfair. But when you are in business together, what you do reflects on the people you're in business with. And if the studio says, look, you're going out there doing these things in public and saying these things in public, and we don't want to be associated with that. We think you doing that and us being associated with you is going to hurt our business. We think what you're doing is going to hurt us. And so just like a dinner party host has the right to not invite somebody if they think they're saying things about their mother, a studio or any business has the right to go, you know what? You're free to say whatever you want to say, but we don't want to be associated with that. We don't want to be a part of that. So you continue to say whatever you want to say, but we're going to go in a different direction. You know, Rob, I remember back, a lot of people don't know about this, but in California, this was very shortly after I moved to LA, there was a prop on one of the elections about whether or not California should allow gay marriage, right? And there was a company, I won't say the company, because there were a couple of them and you probably know who I'm talking about, but there was a company that was supporting the ban gay marriage position. And there were a number of people who worked for that company that said, well, we're not going to work here anymore. They were not trying to take away that company's free speech rights. It's just that those people said, you know what? We don't want to be associated with what you are standing for right now. You're free to have that opinion. You're free to support it if you want. But my freedom says I don't have to be associated with you. And a bunch of people quit those companies as an expression of that freedom that they have. I don't think it's much different the other way around. You know, because you got to understand when you're in show business, you are in the business of public perception. I'm sorry, you might not want to hear that. You might want to think it's just some fairy tale, gold dust all the time. I can do whatever I want. But the reality is you are in the public perception business. And if you are going to start to represent something that other people in business with you don't want to be associated with, then they have the right to say, we're going to move on to somebody else. And you have the right to keep saying what you're saying and go and work with somebody else. So I know it's not the popular thing to say, but she had every right to say what she said. But the company also had every right to say, we don't want to be associated with that. We didn't start this. We didn't choose this fight, but we don't want to be associated with that. So we're going to move on. Now, getting back to the question though, do I think they did the right thing by letting her go? And would I have done that? I'm going to say it depends. On its surface, I wouldn't have let her go over the one statement. I think what I would have done is given her a call and said, can you come into my office or can I come to yours? And can we sit down and talk? And then I would have expressed, listen, you are getting involved in a very polarizing public discourse, and that's your right to do. But we're in business together and we're in the business of public perception. And we don't want our product or our name or our business to be associated with that polarizing issue right now. And you're dragging us into it. Could you please not? Can you please not? And if she said, nah, screw you, we're just going to do whatever, then I would say, then with respect, we're going to move on just because we don't want to be a part of that discussion. So I would say, yeah, if it was the first, like if they had had no discussion with her and they just saw she posted that, I would say, get on the phone with her, respectfully ask her to take it down and say, look, we just want to be associated with that. Please stop that. And then I would continue to move on with her. But if we brought up those concerns with her and she said, nah, whatever, I'm just going to do what I want to do, I would probably say, yeah, then we're going to move on. I don't know. We want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, Fume. Quitting cold turkey is great in theory, but you and I both know it's way more difficult than that. And that's why there's a better way to break your bad habits. We're not talking about some fake online promises. We're talking about our sponsor, Fume. And they look at the problem in a different way. Instead of a drastic, uncomfortable change, why not just remove the bad from your habit? Fume is an innovative, award-winning flavor-air device that does just that. See, instead of vapor, Fume uses flavored air. Instead of electronics, Fume is completely natural. And instead of harmful chemicals, Fume uses delicious flavors. You get it. Instead of bad, Fume is good. It's a habit you're free to enjoy and makes replacing your bad habit easy. I personally didn't know what to expect when I first got my Fume. I mean, I've never liked vapes, but my goodness, the taste. The first time I tried it, I was completely sold on it. It was incredible. Stopping is something we all put off because it's hard, but switching to Fume is easy, enjoyable, and even fun. Fume has served over 150,000 customers and has thousands of success stories, and there's no reason that can't be you. Join Fume in accelerating humanity's breakup from destructive habits by picking up the Journey Pack today. Head to tryfume.com and use the code CAMPEA to save 10% off when you get the Journey Pack today. That's tryfum.com and use the code CAMPEA to save an additional 10% off your order today. Rob, this is a huge issue. And honestly, Rob, what I often find in issues like this, people tend to side with the point of view that they already agree with.
Yeah.
Like people only want to bring up free speech when it's free speech they agree with quite often. And I'm saying everybody does that. Everybody does that. But I don't know, like this is a well-known movie franchise that you've had. I mean, Neve Campbell is the star of the series, but Melissa has been the main lead of the last two films. She was expected to be the main lead going into the next one. And they made the decision to let her go. Did they act too hastily? Did they make the right move? What would you have done in their situation? How do you address this?
I am a staunch supporter of free speech, even when people say things that I might vehemently disagree with. And remember, when people say free speech, that means that the government can't control free speech.
Right.
It doesn't mean that we can police each other's speech. So our system of government guarantees us the First Amendment free speech. But you put it very, very beautifully, very succinctly, and explained when you're working for somebody, you represent them, and you have to maintain that. And my whole thing is, I will defend people's as ill-conceived as opinions might be, or as much as I might disagree with them, as long as they don't veer into outright hate speech against, certain people's individuals, whatever, then I'm like, look, you might have what I consider a bad take, but I'm not going to fire you for that. If anything, like you said, have a conversation with somebody, bring somebody in, talk to them about this, because the thing is, from what I understand, she wasn't espousing a view that is not being talked about by half the planet, if not more so. This is not, her position is not something that many people don't also agree with. She's not coming out of some firebrand from left field.
Yeah, she's not a flat earther.
No. And while I might have disagreed with something she might have said, here's the thing. What I want is educated, informed discourse. And when someone says something that I would consider to be fairly ill-informed or like a flat earther, bring them in and say, look, we need to have a conversation. I can't have you telling people the earth is flat. And I'm willing to present to you why I believe that you shouldn't think this way. And if after the information I present to you, you still want to believe the earth is flat, I think we're going to have to part ways. I think that's look. This
not
is
as a punishment on you, but rather you protecting your own,
my own company.
Yes.
Company.
You're not punishing
cannot,
you, you're protecting yourself.
Yeah, I cannot support such scientific disinformation. The earth is not flat. And I'm not going to have you work for me. We can measure it. We can build our own hot air balloon with stuff we can buy, and we can send a GoPro up into orbit standing right here, and I can prove to you the earth is not flat. And if you're still going to believe it, I can't have you working for me.
I want to bring up this thing too, because it was all over YouTube just a little while ago. There was a thing where a guy went into that fast food restaurant and just started unloading in this like racist rant on a couple of the kids working behind the thing. And guess what? The company that he works for saw that. And even though what happened had nothing to do with the company's like, we can't have your behavior reflecting on our company. Not that Melissa went on some massive, racist rant or whatever. But I mean, the principle is just there. It's like the company their number one job is to protect itself and to protect the interests of everybody else who works there too.
I just wish that in this cantankerous time over really what's an awful situation, everybody is coming at it from all different angles. This is the time when our society needs to show that it can have cogent, learned, informed, thoughtful discourse. This is the time when firing people is maybe not the best course of action. Let's open a dialogue. Let's have conversation. Let's get ideas flowing. Rather than polarize. But, if companies got to do what they feel is right.
Back when I was running things at AMC, I mean, if one of the people we had on staff just started talking a lot online about how movie theaters are stupid, they have the freedom to say that, but I might have to say to them, you're not aligned with what we're doing here. Like we have to part ways. If that had happened, that would not be me trampling on their free speech. It's just that, you know what? There are now, because you're here, there are going to be people who make choices not to see our movie because of the things you're saying.
Right.
And that's hurting our business. And we're in it for the business. So again, would I have let her go? Probably not. Probably not. Not on a first thing like that. But I think they had every right to let her go because they want people, when they see Scream, to be thinking about Scream. That when people see posters for Scream 7, they want people talking about and looking at and thinking about the product, Scream 7, rather than when they see a poster of Scream 7, what happened to Flash. When people saw trailers and posters of Flash, the conversation wasn't about Flash. It was about Ezra Miller. And that's what they didn't want to have. Not what she did is equivalent to Ezra Miller, but they didn't want what she was discussing online to be the topic of conversation.
And rightly or wrongly, this is part of the price of being a public figure, of being famous.
It's part of your business.
It is part of the business. And unfortunately, it's 24/7. If you're going to be in something where someone's investing tens of millions of dollars to make it, what they're investing in, part of that investment is in you, the star of whatever it is you're in.
Yeah. And at the moment in any business, but particularly show business, the public perception business, if you are doing things that is ultimately going to cost the business money and could potentially have a negative impact on their business, then the business has a right to move in a different direction. But again, it's not a great situation for anybody. And listen,
No.
Melissa Barrera is, I think, delightful. She's going to be fine. We'll see how this thing all. And now everybody's going to have some very, very passionate opinions about this. I get it. But bottom line for me, she had the right to say what she said. Company has a right to decide that they don't want to be associated with it. And it's just as simple as that.
And Nev Campbell sitting by her phone going,
Yep.
I'm
Yeah.
available.
Yeah, suddenly
You need a
now,
protagonist.
Cha-ching.
Yep. Yeah, you're going to hear very, very soon, especially with Jenna Ortega departing because of Wednesday and everything. I think you are she's going to get, if she hasn't already gotten a call, Nev Campbell's going to get a call with a new offer that's a lot closer to what she was asking for before than what they were offering her before.
I just want to believe that when she does get that call, the person from Spyglass, whoever calls her, says, "Hello, Sydney.
You're back,
we have
baby.
some money for you."
You're back. They're going to throw all the money at her, I think, at this point. Hey, guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.